to episode 2 of Page to Screen, the series where I read a book and then watch the movie or TV show right afterwards and tell you what I think of both. In this episode, I am reading The Martian by Andy Weir. Full disclosure, I have already seen this movie. I committed a terrible sin where I watched the movie first, but it was several years ago. But I loved that movie, and it's actually the reason why I wanted to get into Andy Weir's books, because previously I had no interest in reading anything by him. I thought that he was going to be what I assumed like typical dude bro sci-fi was gonna be like, and I was not expecting the level of humor in it. So I picked up my first book by Andy Weir a few months ago. I read Project Hail Mary, and it was immediately placed on my all-time favorite shelf. I fell in love with that book, and I've been really hyped to read more things by him. I did intend to intro this vlog before starting this book, but then last night my plan was to just read for maybe half an hour and then watch TV for the rest of the night and crochet, but that did not end up happening, and I am now on page 269. This book had me locked in last night. I had zero awareness of what was happening in my surroundings. I sat down, started reading it, and all of a sudden I looked up and 3 hours had passed and I was almost 300 pages into this book. I quite literally did not put this down once. I didn't check my phone, nothing. I was so unaware of my surroundings. I was fully sucked into this book. Quick summary, this is a sci-fi novel about an astronaut who ends up getting left behind on Mars because his team thought that he was dead and they had to evacuate before they all died, but he actually survived, and he wakes up alone on Mars and nobody knows that he's alive. So he has to try and survive until the next Mars mission comes and lands in 4 years. And he has limited food, water, everything. He has to figure out how to make food and grow crops and make water, actually. But luckily he's a botanist, so he kind of has an edge up, and obviously smart enough to go to Mars. He's definitely resourceful enough to possibly survive, but it's also Mars. So there's a whole bunch of issues that could possibly happen, and this story is just following this character as we see if he survives. This is a fascinating read. It's also making me realize how quickly I would die. Like, obviously on Mars, I would not survive. I have no science skills, nothing. But I was even thinking about just like, if I were to get lost in the woods, I would die. Like, just straight up. If I was in the middle of a forest and I couldn't leave, like if it was like too far of a walk to be able to get out and I had to just rely on my wits, I would not survive. And this book is making me realize that, of like how many things this guy is doing that I wouldn't have even thought of. He's faced with the knowledge that he's going to run out of food, and he has to figure out how to grow crops on Mars. And there's so much that went into that is very well explained in this book so far that wouldn't have even occurred to me to need to do. And that's only one of the many tasks that he needs to do to survive. And it's just making me think about, what would I do if I was in a similar, like more realistic situation, and it is not any of what he's doing. I think I would just panic and probably give it a shot for a couple days, and I think I would just give up. Realistically, I would likely end up getting hurt somehow because I'm an idiot and I'm clumsy. I'd probably fall somewhere and break my leg. Who knows? But these are the things that this book is making me think about, and it's very interesting. I'm having a great time reading this book so far, and I think I'm probably gonna finish it tonight, to be honest. I'm currently watching The Queer Ultimatum. I have 1.5 episodes left until I'm caught up for the season. So I think once I finish those, I'm going to be locked into this book for the rest of the night, and I'll most likely end up finishing it. Tomorrow is Canada Day, so my work is closed, so I don't have to go to bed early, which means I can just stay up as late as I wish and finish this book. Granted, I actually won't even need to stay up that late because I'm almost done. I'm doing the physical read in tandem with the audiobook, and I think the audiobook says that I have about 1 hour and 45 minutes left. So most likely we'll finish this book tonight, and then tomorrow I will rewatch the movie. But yeah, I'll check back in once I've finished it and let you know my final thoughts. Hello, how we doing? It's the next day and I've just finished The Martian and had such a good time reading this book. Oh my god, this was so good. Once again, the last 150 pages of this book had me locked in just as much as the first 250 pages did. I was intending to read last night, but I ended up just binge watching TV shows. So this morning I sat down on the couch and did not move until I finished it. Also, sorry if you can hear screaming in the background. The neighbor kids are back there doing whatever kids do. They're quite loud though, so apologies if you can hear that. Anyways, yeah, so completely locked in, didn't move a muscle, just sat there and got so fully immersed in this story. This made me laugh so hard throughout the entirety of the novel. It made me cry. It was so tense and terrifying and so full of hope. This was such a good book and such an incredible story. It felt so real. I kept forgetting that Mark Watney is not a real astronaut and this didn't actually happen to him. It felt so believable. The characters, especially the main character Mark, was so personable and likable and felt like somebody who could actually exist, which is not something that I think often about books. This is one of the very rare cases where I truly forgot that I was reading a book. I love the format of this book where it's told through all of his log entries and diary entries throughout the course of his time. I love the humanity of this book as well. Just seeing how this man who's facing something that nobody in the history of the world could ever possibly imagine, and seeing how he tackles all these problems with humor and lightness and finding ways to stay joyful even while facing the very real possibility of death. I could never be this positive or optimistic on a good day, and yet this character managed to do so during something that I could never even kind of imagine going through. And then I also really enjoyed how it was multi-POV. Most of the POV was from Mark, and the odd time we'd switch over to his crewmates in space, and other times back to NASA and what those people were up to and how they were trying to problem solve and everything, which gave this such an interesting, well-rounded picture of everything that was happening. It left me in the dark in times where it was really interesting and answered questions before I even thought to ask them. This was a very, very well-crafted book. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, and I could not get enough of this book. My only critique, and it's a very minor one, is that this main character felt like the exact same guy as the main character of Project Hail Mary, which for me personally works super well because I love that kind of character. Very sarcastic, very funny. That is my jam, but I can see how that could be kind of repetitive, but I liked it, so it's fine. But yeah, this was such a good book. It was truly phenomenal. I understand why so many people love this book, and while it may not be like 100% perfect, just based off of how this book made me feel and how it had me so tense and the roller coaster of emotions that I was brought on, I had to give this book a full 5 stars. And now that I finished the book, I can go ahead and rewatch the movie. I've only seen it once, and it was quite a while ago. I forget when. I think it was at least 2 years ago, I want to say, maybe a bit more. Either way, it's been a hot minute, so I'm looking forward to it, especially now that I've read the book. I want to see how the movie differs from it. I'm either going to watch the movie tonight or tomorrow. I'm not sure which. Maybe tonight, we'll see. I am really in a reading mood right now, and I've got a bunch of current reads, so today might just be a reading day, but if not tonight, I will watch it tomorrow. And once I do, I'll check back in with my final thoughts. Good morning. I did end up watching The Martian last night. The first time that I watched this movie a couple years ago, it was a 5-star movie for me. Watching it the second time after reading the book, I think the movie is more like a 4-star. It is an excellent movie. It was so well done. I think they did a really good job at keeping true to the book as much as they could, but just given time constraints of the movie, I found that it did kind of lose some of the character of the book. The movie still had that element of humor to it, but not nearly as much as in the book. Plus, it was a lot more censored censored. There were a lot less F-bombs dropped and that kind of thing, which made it feel a bit less realistic, because if that were me, at least, I would be swearing left, right, and center. And there were definitely some things that were cut. A lot of the trials and things that went wrong and that kind of thing, a lot of those got cut, again, just for time issues. This was still a 2.5-hour movie. If they wanted to keep absolutely everything from the book, it would have had to have been like 5 or 6 hours. So of course that wasn't realistic to have every single part of the book in there. But I did find that because they took out some of the struggles, it made things feel a lot easier. Not easy still, there was definitely still struggle, but things felt a lot less complicated and less high stakes as well. There's also one really small thing that bothered me. In the book, one of the really small annoyances that the main character would deal with was that he couldn't bring any pens or Sharpies outside because they're liquid, so the second that they hit the Martian atmosphere, all of the liquid would have boiled off immediately. And that was such a small thing, but it was a real struggle because he was trying to communicate to NASA through these like handwritten notes that they would take a picture of, but he had to like go inside, write the letter out, bring it outside, and then hold it up, and it was just this constant back and forth that made things a lot more annoying, and it's really added to how difficult everything really was. That even something so small as trying to write a 1-sentence note was this huge ordeal. But in the movie, they just had him like using a pen outside, and that was a really small thing, but I just thought that that was kind of funny. But anyways, yeah, it was still a fantastic movie. I liked the slight alteration in the ending of the movie versus the book. I'm not gonna spoil it obviously, but a certain plan that the main character wanted to do in the book but didn't get to do, he was able to do in the movie, and I really enjoyed that part of it. It was so cool. And of course the visuals in the movie, ooh, so good. This was a beautifully shot movie. It was very, very well made. I loved the acting for all of the characters. I really enjoyed Matt Damon as Mark. I think he did a great job with that. All of the crew on the Hermes ship felt just like the characters from the book, but I especially loved the characters over at NASA because you got to see just how haggard and frazzled these people were. All of these genius scientists, the smartest people in the world, in old sweatpants and baggy t-shirts, looking like they hadn't slept in years and drinking cold coffee. It was perfection. And then I also really enjoyed too with the NASA part of it. It takes place over the course of a couple years, right? So you get to see all these people who at the start of the movie were just co-workers when there was very much a hierarchy, and you kind of see those boundaries break down as these people just kind of become friends, you know, from like the very top director of NASA down to somebody who just punches in numbers into a computer. You see those relationships kind of build more, which I really enjoyed. And then I also really liked with the movie as well. So the book is told entirely in like journal log entries, and you don't get to see anything in between those logs. So while the main character is very vulnerable and like he talks about like how he's actually feeling and all the ways that he has made mistakes and like how he's felt and everything like that, it is a very real hard look at this character's psyche. In the book you don't see any of the moments in between the logs, whereas in the movie you did. You got to see those moments where Mark was just sitting there contemplating the fact that he might die, and you got to see the moments immediately after something goes wrong and he has to figure out what to do. And it was those moments that felt really heavy that really made the movie shine in ways that the book just wasn't able to do because of the format that it was told in. So definitely a very, very strong movie. I really enjoyed it. The book is absolutely better. That is not even a question, but the movie is still excellent, and it's definitely one that I'll watch again. I had a great time watching this movie and reading the book. I also can't wait to read more of Andy Weir's books now too. Also, the trailer for Project Hail Mary was just released. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to right after I finish this, and I can't wait to see it. I really hope they do just as good a job with Project Hail Mary as they did with The Martian. Fingers crossed, because I love that book so much. But anyways, that'll do it for this video. Let me know if you've read or watched The Martian and what you think of it, and let me know if you have any suggestions for future episodes of Page to Screen. I'm always here for recommendations. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.